It's that time. Time for nap time, story time. But before I begin, I am showcasing women authors. Some are well-known authors. Some are people who I know. All of these books are worth a read. More than enough, claiming space for who you are, no matter what they say. Elaine Welteroth. Transformation at the Wall by Alethea Rudd. She's a friend of mine and a fantastic author. This is volume 1 of a 3-part series. I need to catch up. Everybody knows the fabulous Harlemite Miss Bevy Smith and her Bevelations, lessons from a mother, auntie, bestie. Last but not least, The Sun is On by Linda Michelle Barron, Poetry and Ideas. Before I begin, you know what I must do. There's my wrist. 97.0. I'm good to go. I hope you are too. Before I read today's I'm going to read a couple of things today because today is National Read Across America Day. It's Read Across America. So we're going to do a couple of readings. I use my little jingle bell here as a bookmark because I wanted to read this to you today by Linda Michelle Barron. Well done. Toothbrushes on the sink, expecting to be used, discussing their age-old problem of having been abused. One was missing bristles, and no one seemed to care if the shabby toothbrush went without repair. Another, cracked and worn, looking rather bad, spent his time discussing the beauty he once had. The rubber tip on one was just an empty space. No one thought to put a new tip in its place. They were so unhappy, their thoughts turned to tears. They remembered all they lost throughout the years. The sink sat silently and listened, and then had this to say to her disgruntled friends who spoke of their dismay. You each have whitened teeth and dueled with tooth decay. You served humanity every single day. Your work will be remembered. Whenever people smile, your hard work will be remembered for a very long while. You should try to remember how much you really won. You have the satisfaction of knowing you did a job well done. And then here's well done part 2. Some shook their bristles and said, "Who asked her to think?" Some didn't hear one word spoken by Miss Sink. Some of the others heard and could tell Sink was sincere, but felt the problem went beyond their outward disrepair. They had indeed worked hard and with a sense of pride, but they couldn't excuse being overused and carelessly cast aside. Mirror reflected, If you'd been rinsed and stored, protected, not just used and ignored, you'd feel better about life's wear and tear if they'd shown appreciation, acted like they cared. The toothbrushes looked at mirror, smudged and splattered, and knew how mirror understood what really mattered. They all applauded the mirror, shouting, "That's it! That's it exactly! I know," was all that mirror said, far from matter of factly. I like that one. I liked what the author did for a follow-up. It said, "Look who's talking. Imagine that your belongings could talk. What would they say about the way you treat them?" The first one says, "My toothbrush." What will your toothbrush say? "My shoes." What will your shoes say? "My school books." Oh, what would they say? Do you take good care of them? "My pencil or pen." I hope you're not always losing your pencil. Am I speaking to you? "My favorite belonging." Well, if it's your favorite, you shouldn't lose it. You shouldn't mistreat it. You should take very good care of it. And then let's see, here's one more. 1,000 thanks. Choose one of the following: your toothbrush, shoes, school books, pencil or a pen, or a favorite belonging. Then write a thank you note to it to express your appreciation. If you like, write your note as a poem. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Linda Michelle Barron. Here's one more. Now write a thank you note to someone you know. Express your appreciation for something the person has done for you. Oh, those are so nice. Thank you, Linda Michelle Barron. And we are celebrating you on this day and also part of Women's History Month. So you go back up to your position of honor. And let's see, I've got a couple of other things. Remember we looked at this book yesterday, Verses? Well, let's see. I put in another bookmark on another page. Let's look at this picture. It is quite stunning. This person is Rachel Carson, marine biologist and environmentalist. She was born in 1907 and died in 1964. Let's read the poem that was written for her. I was trying to save the beauty of the living world. That is the name of this poem. Goliath's roar against her little book of secret ways those giants spoil the sea. The flora, fauna, everywhere you look, grim legacies of greed and gluttony. Imagine then the atmosphere that shook, a world awake to nature's tragedy. One woman with a mighty brief to bring against those who would destroy the rights of spring. And here is, here is her biography, but I will have to show you the picture while I read it. As a writer, Rachel Carson published her first piece at the age of 8. Oh, I'm sorry, that said 10. You know what? This is difficult to read because of the glare of the light. So you'll just have to get your own copy of this book, Verses, or You have to do a research of your own about Rachel Carson, because as you can see, this print is very small and I can't turn the camera because then I lose my connection to you. So I really just wanted you to hear the poetry, which you did. This bookmark says, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Always move with confidence." And lastly, the story for today is one of my favorite. In keeping with the theme of women, this book was written and illustrated by women. Bringing the Rain to Kapiti Plain by Verna Ardema. Pictures by Beatrice Fidel. And everybody knows this is probably in the top one of my favorite stories. A Nandi tale. And everybody knows I am Queen Nandi. That means it's from South Africa. And let's see. For my librarian, Bernice Houseward. That is from the author and from the illustrator. For my parents, for my teacher. That's a nice dedication. Let's look at the pictures. This is the great Kapiti Plain, all fresh and green from the African rains. A sea of grass for the ground birds to nest in, and patches of shade for wild creatures to rest in. With acacia trees for giraffes to browse on, and grass for the herdsmen to pasture their cows on. But one year the rains was so very belated that all of the big wild creatures migrated. Then Kapiti helped to end the terrible drought. And this story tells how it all came about. This is the cloud all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the grass all brown and dead that needed the rain from the cloud overhead. The big black cloud, all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. These are the cows, all hungry and dry, who moved for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead. The big black cloud, all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is Kapiti, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like a big stalk bird. Keepat, whose cows were so hungry and dry they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, all heavy with the big black cloud, all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the eagle who dropped a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Keepat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stalk bird. Keepat, whose cows were so hungry and dry they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud, all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the arrow Keepat put together with a slender stick and an eagle feather, from the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Keepat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stalk bird. Keepat, whose cows were so hungry and dry they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud, all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the bow, so long and strong, and strung with a string, a leather thong, a bow for the arrow Keepat put together with a slender stick and an eagle feather, from the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Keepat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stalk bird. Keepat, whose cows were so hungry and dry they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud, all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This was the shot that pierced the cloud and loosed the rain with thunder loud. A shot from the bow so long and strong and strung with a string, a leather thong, a bow for the arrow Keepat put together with a slender stick and an eagle feather, from the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Kapiti, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stalked bird. Kapiti, whose cows were so hungry and dry, they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud, all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. So the grass grew green and the cattle fat, and Kapiti got a wife and a little Kapiti. Who tends the cows now and shoots down the rain when black clouds shadow Kapiti Plain. There's a bit about the author and about the artist and about the tale. I won't read it now, but you can buy the book and read it for yourself. At the end of every story, what do I tell you? Go take your nap.